In this video, we'll go through the main menu and see what basic features are available in n8n so you can use them for your workflow. So let's take a look. That is, when you open the menu and you don't have any nodes yet, you'll see a list of triggers here that you can choose for your workflow. Let's go through each of them because that's where every workflow begins. Here you can choose to start manually, that is by clicking with the mouse. There's also the option to add another trigger. So once you've already added one node, the menu changes a bit, but you can still access the menu you saw earlier by clicking add another trigger. And here there are different options. The main ones are, for example, scheduling. You can set a specific interval at which your workflow will run. On Webhook Call mean there will always be a certain address on the internet which you can trigger either manually or, for example, set up an automation system from another workflow or another service to call this address. Mainly a webhook is used so that if you are using some service and it has the option to add a webhook. So, for example, let's say you want to, what example can I give? Well, let's say you have a service like, or any other similar online platform that searches for potential clients for your business. In this particular case, they have the available possibility. You start a process there that is necessary in order to find clients. They search for them. And when the process is finally finished, you can then add a webhook there to automatically handle or process the results as needed for your business operations. And accordingly, when they finish, they will send a notification to this webhook saying, we're done, here's the result. That's what a webhook is used for. Let's take a look at something else. On app event, this is if you have some kind of application, for example, AWS, Gmail, most likely it's here. Let's search. Here, Gmail. You can use an email trigger, meaning when an email arrives, this is essentially the same as a webhook, except it's already an integrated application, in this case, Gmail. So whenever you receive an email, it will trigger this every time. So what else do we have? Form submission. Here you add your own form. You can create your own form and publish it, so it will be available via a link. And every time someone submits this form, this workflow will be triggered for you. So triggers are quite simply the specific things that actually start or initiate a workflow. Another common type of trigger is the event called when executed by another workflow. This is needed when you've built a workflow and want to call it from another process. For example, if you have a set of steps you want to reuse or connect with other parts of your system. I'll keep calling them workflows since it's simpler and makes things easier to follow. In that case, you need to use this trigger to make the connection. Now let's look at on chat message. Here, you can create a full-fledged chat, which means you can chat right here in this interface, or you can make it public again for others to join in. And then every time a message is sent, this workflow will be triggered. So your process responds to each new message as it comes in. Other ways is for when you use something other than Gmail, like an email trigger, IMAP, or a mailbox. So every time an email arrives, it will be triggered. The error trigger, we're already familiar with it, activates when an error occurs. But when it's embedded within a workflow, it not only launches the third workflow we created for error handling, but it also executes within that same workflow. That is, if you've built a workflow and added an error trigger inside that workflow, then if an error occurs in the main workflow chain, this lower workflow will be triggered as a result. It's actually really hard to use the word workflow in Russian, especially when you're talking about technical topics or even the word process. Sometimes it just doesn't quite translate the same way. It's a bit of a challenge, honestly, to find the right word that truly fits. So what else do we have here? Local file. Local file is when you have it running on your own server, so you can use it by attaching it to a specific file. I've never used it myself, but apparently when the file changes, it will be triggered. All right, and after that, okay, two more left. This is the n8n internal workflow system, also known as the n8n platform. There, when a workflow starts, when a workflow is activated, This is probably when you're working in a team, someone activates it and you want to know about it, so you get a notification. SSE triggers the workflow when server sent events occur. That is, when server sent events happen. What are server sent events? I have a video about that. I'll leave a link in the description. You can check it out. So it also triggers a separate workflow. So here we have about a dozen of these main workflows. The ones I use all the time are the schedule trigger, that is the one that runs by a set schedule. Manual is particularly helpful when you're testing something and want to run it manually, and Webhook is used very often in a wide variety of situations. I've used form submission. This one here. Gmail chat. So basically you end up using most of these quite often depending on your needs. So take a look, explore, and leave a comment if you have any questions. This video was dedicated to breaking down workflows. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like and let me know in the comments what else you'd like me to cover in detail. There will be a series of videos where I go into more detail, where I break down certain things in n8n because not everyone is familiar with it, and maybe it will help someone. See you in the next videos.